Welcome. Do you remember a moment in your life when you were about to begin something completely new? No guarantees of success, no detailed plan, just a quiet inner feeling that you needed to take that step. Today I want to tell you about one of the most symbolic cards in the tarot, the Fool, the card of the beginning, the very first step, the courage to trust life. On the card we see a young traveler. He stands at the edge of a cliff, or perhaps he is just about to step forward. He doesn't seem afraid. There is a lightness about him, a sense of freedom, as if he trusts that the path will reveal itself along the way. The Fool represents spontaneity, freedom, and openness to new experiences. Over his shoulder he carries a small bundle. He brings only what is truly necessary. It is a symbol that he begins his journey without heavy burdens, without the past holding him back. Beside him we often see a small white dog. It can symbolize instinct, protection, loyalty, and sometimes a warning, as if reminding him, trust the journey, but stay aware. The edge of the cliff is one of the most important elements of this card. It represents risk, the unknown, a completely new experience. The Fool does not see the entire road ahead, yet he moves forward. In his hand he often holds a white rose, a symbol of purity, sincerity, and an open heart. In the distance we see mountains, challenges that still lie ahead, and above it all shines the bright sun, a symbol of life, optimism, divine guidance, and the powerful energy of a new beginning. The Fool is not naive, he is courageous. Because true courage is the willingness to take the first step, even when you cannot see the whole path. Now let us look at the Fool from a psychological perspective. In psychology, the Fool represents a moment of transition, a threshold between what has been and what is about to begin. It is that stage in life when something quietly comes to an end, but the new path has not yet fully revealed itself. Psychologically, the Fool reflects a part of the human psyche that is capable of beginning again, a part that accepts uncertainty, a part that does not demand to know everything in advance. In many ways, the Fool represents the energy of the inner child, but not a childish or irresponsible child. Rather, the childlike qualities that psychology often associates with creativity and personal growth, curiosity, openness, and the natural ability to trust life. In psychological development, real transformation often begins when we step beyond what feels familiar and safe. The Fool stands precisely at that point, at the boundary between the known and the unknown. Behind him lies security. Ahead of him lies possibility. This card gently asks an important question. Can you allow yourself to make mistakes? Can you accept that not everything in life can be controlled? The Fool does not represent recklessness. Instead, it symbolizes the willingness to experience life directly, to learn through action, through movement, through living. It is the moment when a person loosens their grip on the past and allows space for something new to emerge. Sometimes this step is taken with excitement, sometimes with a quiet sense of uncertainty, but always with a movement forward. On a deeper psychological level, the Fool symbolizes trust in one's own journey, trust in the unfolding process of life, and the understanding that even when the entire path is not visible, the next step is enough. Because every meaningful journey begins with a single step. When the Fool appears in a tarot reading, it almost always carries the energy of a beginning, a new path, a new decision, a new stage of life. But this beginning does not always arrive in a dramatic way. Sometimes it is simply a quiet moment when you realize that you can no longer remain where you are. Something inside you begins to move. something begins to change. In matters of the heart, the Fool can symbolize the start of a new connection, falling in love, opening the heart again. It carries the energy of spontaneity, honesty, and emotional openness. The Fool encourages us to experience love without excessive calculation, to allow feelings to appear naturally. Yet this card can also bring a gentle warning. It reminds us not to idealize a relationship too quickly, not to enter something important without reflection, not to move forward purely on impulse. When the Fool appears in love readings, it often asks a simple but powerful question. Are you following your heart, or are you trying to escape loneliness? The difference between these two motivations can shape the entire direction of a relationship. In professional matters, the Fool often signals a new opportunity, a change of direction, a project that is only just beginning. It represents courage, the willingness to step beyond familiar patterns. Sometimes it even points to the decision to leave something stable in order to explore a completely new path. But the Fool does not encourage careless action. It does not say, act without thinking. Instead, the message is simple. Take the first step, but remain conscious. Not everything needs to be perfectly planned, yet some things deserve thoughtful consideration. On a deeper level, the Fool represents a powerful stage of personal transformation. It is the moment when you stop defining yourself through the past. You are no longer exactly who you once were, but you have not yet become the person you are about to be. It is a space in between, a time of uncertainty, but also a time filled with enormous potential, because it is within this space that a new identity begins to emerge, a new way of thinking, new decisions, new possibilities. The Fool reminds us that every meaningful transformation requires courage, and sometimes the greatest risk of all is simply remaining where you are. In a tarot reading, the meaning of the Fool can change depending on whether the card appears upright or reversed. When the Fool appears upright, it usually carries the energy of a new beginning, a new path, a new experience, a moment in life when something invites you to move forward. The upright Fool encourages openness, curiosity, the courage to take the first step even if the entire path is not yet visible. It reminds us that every journey begins with a moment of trust, trust in life, trust in the process, and sometimes trust in ourselves. When the Fool appears reversed, the message becomes more reflective. It may suggest hesitation, a fear of change, or a feeling that something is holding you back from moving forward. In some situations, the reversed Fool can also be a gentle warning, a reminder not to rush, not to act purely on impulse. Instead, the card invites a moment of awareness, a pause, a chance to ask yourself whether you are truly ready for the next step. Whether upright or reversed, the Fool always speaks about beginnings, about movement, and about the courage required to step into the unknown. Because every path in life begins the same way, with a single step forward. The Fool speaks about beginnings, about courage, about trusting a path that is not yet fully visible. In life, there are moments when everything feels uncertain, moments when the old chapter is ending and the new one has not yet fully appeared. Yet, it is often in these very moments that something new begins, a new decision, a new direction, a new way of seeing yourself. The Fool reminds us that we do not need to see the entire future in order to take the first step. Sometimes what we need most is courage and honesty with ourselves. If you feel that you may be standing at such a threshold, if something inside you is quietly telling you that it is time to move forward, it may be worth exploring this moment more deeply. And if you would like to understand what the Fool means in your own life, in your current situation, I invite you to a personal tarot reading, because sometimes one clear insight can become the beginning of an entirely new journey. Tarot reader Andrew.